I'm David Elsey. I'm founder and CEO of Torque3. And the Hold on one second while I sort out my technical problem here. So the world is experiencing a crisis from the sheer number of stroke incidents. In the US alone, there are over 800,000 new stroke cases each year. This is a number that's projected to double over the next 10 to 15 years. And while acute treatment has advanced greatly, every stroke survivor still requires rehabilitation. Now, the current approach to neurorehabilitation has fewer than 10% recover to an outcome that allows them to resume living active, independent lifestyles. So that means that here in the United States, we have almost 10 million people with acquired brain injury who have been declared plateaued and are simply living as recluses with their impairments. Now, it's in tests with these plateaued patients where our Outbounder platform has demonstrated remarkable results, giving these patients new hope for improving their lives. All of our test participants showed significant improvement, and here are just a few examples. Meet Bryce. He made amazing improvements during the test. By the end, he could walk with better balance and more confidence. He could form simple sentences. He could smile, and both he and his wife had a noticeably better outlook on life. Natalie was not a stroke survivor. She suffers from cerebral palsy, but had similar symptoms to the stroke participants and achieved similar improvements. Her progress highlights the fact that the Torque3 treatment is not limited to stroke survivors and can be effective for other neurological conditions as well. Now, another participant, for example, suffered from brain damage as a result of a tumor, and like the others, she showed improvement over the course of the test. Now, Peter, one of my favorites, was another plateaued stroke survivor and experienced steady improvement. And I'm highlighting here because his recovery, which is so profound, he went from requiring the assistance of a walker to moving freely without even a cane. After treatment, Peter went so far to return to work as a master carpenter, dropping his disability status. Now, the current approach to neurorehabilitation is a one-on-one coaching from a therapist while performing some variation of modality-specific repetition exercise. And that is, they focus on one muscle group or function, repeating a motion or action over and over. The Outbounder platform was designed to take a very different approach through three coordinated techniques. First, we stimulate general neuroplasticity through a full body multimodal experience that works the entire body along with all of the senses and cognitive functions simultaneously. This saturates the sensory association and motor cortices with signals, stimulating general neuroplastic improvement, which allows our treatment to not only profoundly advance neuromuscular performance, but also improve balance, fine motor skills, and even a reduction in spasticity. Additionally, it is shown to dramatically improve a host of cognitive issues, including aphasia, left-right side deficit, and reaction time, among many other impairments. Now, as an added bonus, our enhancement of general neuroplasticity produces a radical upturn in the mental health of the patients and their caregivers. So we then compensate for neuromuscular weakness through an advanced robotics so that the patient doesn't even feel they're impaired while riding, further confounding the association cortex. This important function not only makes the therapy enjoyable for the patient, but also plays a key role in heightening neuroplasticity. The sensory feedback from the simulation of successful neuromuscular execution encourages the higher signal density to the associated damaged neural pathways. And finally, we take advantage of the heightened general neuroplasticity by triggering broad neural remapping. The platform simulates a hyper-realistic, deeply immersive environment where the patient performs continually novel and challenging task-oriented effort, which is always associated with a perception of risk. The patient is convinced of this risk and has that exposure to simulated hazards as the element that makes every action they take to be interpreted by the brain to be urgent and important, prompting neural remapping. So the platform will be deployed for patient services through a network of partner clinics owned by third-party investors and operated with the oversight of Torque3. These partner clinics will operate on a private pay basis while the company works to establish the Torque3 treatment as a standard of care recognized by insurance providers. And when it comes to competition, we're pursuing a subset of the stroke survivor market, comprising of the plateaued patients who have both the need for the treatment and the ability to pay for it. This can support substantial Torque3 business growth without threatening existing rehab clinics nor inviting competitive responses from other manufacturers. Now, Torque3 is currently ramping up for production of the Outbounder platform to deliver on equipment sales to partner clinics. And clinics can buy platforms in batches of 6 at $230,000 each, and we see a gross profit margin of 40%, which we'll approve over time. Now, we intend to establish at least 16 partner clinics over the next 3 to 5 years, and we work in parallel to secure insurance coverage for patients using the platform. Now, once this insurance coverage is secured, the Torque3 served market will increase by 100-fold to include all stroke survivors, as well as patients with other neuro-related diseases such as Parkinson's, MS, and traumatic brain injuries. Now, the company secured the first 2 partner clinics, which will already bring revenues of over $2.5 million in this year, and we expect to close 2 more deals in the next few months. The partner clinic program is not the end strategy, but rather a stepping stone to achieve a new CPT code for the plateaued patient market to use for their insurance coverage. And my little Miles Distraction does actually miss a couple of things here that I regret now that I look at it. One is that we do have Class 2 510K registration, and we also have received our U.S. system patent. We'll be filing at the end of the month for international patents based on the system patent in the U.S., and then we'll also be filing 2 other additional patents at the end of the month as well. Company revenues come from sales of platforms to partner clinics and from associated licensing, along with management fees. Revenues expected to reach a total of $25 million over the next 3 years. And we'll also be seeking the Series A this year to accelerate growth. Now, really comes down to when we establish the CPT code for plateaued patients, we will likely trigger an exit event through acquisition, considering we're opening such a large market. Now, I'm proud to say that Torque3 has assembled a great team to make this plan happen. I'm the founder and CEO, veteran of 3 previous ventures. Nevin is my chief technology officer. He's an expert in VR simulation technology, previously developed deeply immersive platforms. He and I have been working together for over 20 years. Tim, my chief science officer, expert in neuroscience. He previously served as the director of the neurobehavioral program at the Walter Reed Medical Center. Tim and I have been working together for the last 5 years, and the 3 of us brought together neuroscience and deeply immersive technology to create the Outbounder platform. The remaining members of the team, including executive board members and medical advisors, have expertise in areas necessary to commercialize the platform, get it to market, and grow a successful business. We currently have a $400,000 still available from our $1.5 million bridge round. It's a safe offer with a $50,000 minimum. Anyone interested, you can contact me for details. And I'm going to let a video run of the showing off the Outbounder platform while I answer questions. Yeah, questions? Any questions?
Anyone?
Yeah, hey, David.
Yeah.
Quick question, David. Did I catch it right that your revenue model is sell the machine to the clinic, or alternatively, is there or will there be a day where there's a recurring revenue stream from your customer?
Yes. Once we get past the partner clinic program, that's exactly. So you'll notice we're not talking about selling to existing clinics, et cetera. We're talking about a program that we sort of keep under our one large umbrella, even though outside investors are buying these clinics and paying us. It is really just a stepping stone to exactly that. We see it as either a system to where we'll do leases, or where we actually just own it and just charge them a platform as a service, like equipment as a service type model.
Yeah.
But that would be after we establish ourselves in a few years.
And what is your, just related to that, before somebody else asks a question, what is your thesis or guesstimate on what a CPT code, once in existence, will pay, let's say, per session, or maybe it's done on a bundle type concept? How lucrative will this be for whoever is receiving that CPT revenue?
Okay, so for example, right now we are going to be charging $220 per session. That's a 1-hour session. The equivalent in Medicare would be $140 if they were willing to cover it. we think that we will bundle along with the existing codes, CBT codes that exist now, that it will get up to that 226.
I think I got that. Thanks.
Got,
Yeah, I
yeah,
David.
think that was not the end of my question, Don. I would just click on my presentation.
yeah.
Oh,
You got
right.
my.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, Dave. You got 5 more minutes if you want to continue on. Is it
I'm
I
waiting
just
for other
wanted,
people.
I
So,
was
so
going to say it'd be nice to understand how actually this equipment works.
The equipment works is it has how it enhances neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Well, I told you how we designed it. I'm going to be honest with you. We don't know. I mean, there's no way for us to look in the brain and actually confirm. What we can confirm is the outcomes. And I agree with you that there should be a lot of research done to find out why it works. We designed it exactly how I told you, under those three different sort of stages to enhance neuroplasticity. But we don't know how it works because there's no way for us to confirm it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, weird, but it's the world we live in. The brain is not easy.
makes sense?
David, let me ask you this, and this is, I think, similar to what Jay was asking, perhaps. Uh, um, what what's the patient volume that would be required for these clinics to sort of, purchase this device and make the financials make sense, right? Is I don't know, a device like this seems pretty expensive. Would neuroplasticity not be achieved in a similar way using some versions of Oculus or other VR headsets with some other such devices, right? Without it being such an over-engineered solution, why go through this whole robotic kind of a device instead of like these smaller other possibilities?
I'll answer your question was sort of twofold. I'll answer the last part first. As far as devices that can accommodate or do what we're doing, there are VR solutions out there, and I go and I look at them regularly. None of them are actually getting the results we're getting. They're not as immersive. So if you say ours works because of our theory, it's because they're not providing that whole body experience. They're not engaging the entire body in a deep immersion with inherent risk. Now, could you, with technology, replace the mechanical application, apparatus? Perhaps, but that technology doesn't exist yet.
Okay,
I mean,
and
in other words, could you convince the brain with enough, with enough stimulation of different nerve sensory input that a certain thing is happening that isn't under the stimulation? Perhaps, but nothing exists like that yet.
Okay, and so then on the first part of that question, that's important,
Right.
right? You said that other devices don't achieve the same outcomes. Do you have some data you could share? Have you done a head-to-head
Yeah,
comparison?
we have our internal tests, and nobody comes close to that. I mean, in other words, it's like we have 100% across the board with what's considered significant recovery on plateaued patients. These are people who have already been taken off the system, being saying they've achieved as much as they're going to achieve. And then we've actually had our people then after our test go to other facilities, very high-end facilities like NeuroWorks, and not achieve it one bit more. Through 6 months of trying. It's really difficult to say how groundbreaking this is if you're not in this world. But yes, there is information, there is data to back it up.
So closing the loop on the number of patients that would be required from the
Okay, so
financial
closing the loop.
sense.
So every machine needs 40, no, I'm sorry, 17 patients running on it continually. And so you run about double that. So 30 some odd patients per machine per year.
Okay.
They come in about 2.5 times per week on average, and they do about 6 months on average.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
So it's not overwhelming number of patients.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got
Thanks,
about 30 seconds left. Any last questions?
So on your equipment, I'm trying to understand the whole nature of the equipment even. Let's say if you go to a gym and you see the pedaling portion or the hand portion, why can't that already be utilized for your?
It's not the exercise. It's tricking the brain into believing that you're doing a task that has consequences. So in other words, you're going down a trail in most of our environments. You're going down a trail that is, the faster you go, the more precarious it is, etc. So therefore, your brain is tricked into this. The exercise is incidental. Now, I'm not saying the exercise isn't good for people, but it's very incidental. What's more is the exercise is controlled through robotics. So people who have had a stroke typically have hemiplegia and can't pedal. Not really,
Right.
not without somebody holding the other leg. Our robotics take over and they just actually pedal on their own.
Okay.
And steer on the road.
Great answer. Really great job. Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here and present today.